I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need. In the off-white Rari, baby, we run the streets. I'm a K-I-N-G, Westside royalty. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, that's all you need. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need.
Welcome back, everybody. You're with Steven Basita on my podcast, Get It. And today I have a special guest. His name is Judah Brown. And Judah is a player that I've had the blessing of being able to watch his sophomore through senior year. He joined my basketball club for a small stint of time while he was waiting for his travel schedule to begin. So I had the blessing of coaching him for a few weeks. Great kid, hard worker. He has a lot of accolades behind his name. He is a freshman over at St. Mary's College, and I had a blessing of being able to see him on TV, play a couple games. I saw him score his first points in college basketball, and he's a kid that I've used as an example within my own organization when I talk about what it takes to make it to the next level. And Judah embodies what it takes to make it from being a high school athlete to not only a college athlete, but a Division I college basketball player. And for those who don't know, if you're a high school, take all the high school varsity athletes, that basketball players, which there's millions of them in America, you have less than a 0.4% chance of being a high school varsity basketball player and making it to Division I basketball. So he's made it in that very, very, very small group. And I'm going to let him tell a little bit of his story here. So thank you so much for coming and joining me, Judah.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So let's just start with, I want to go through your journey, but let's start with the high school. Mm-hmm. So you go to high school, you go to Pacifica Christian, I'm sorry. I got that backwards. And so your sophomore year, you had to sit for the first half the season because you transferred.
Correct.
And where did you transfer from?
I transferred from Desert Christian Academy in Palm Desert area.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you transfer. I got to see you play the last half of that season, and I got to play your junior and senior year. So, a few things that, again, I know it's really hard for people to understand how hard it is to do what you've done. And just also to give everybody a little idea here, you're 6'7".
Correct, yeah.
And you can pretty much play any position on the court, at least in high school. I know it's different in college. By the way, just for the record, for everybody watching this, I did play judo one-on-one his junior year. And I lost by 1 point. I lost 10-11.
I remember that.
I was up by 3 points. I got underneath him and thought I got a layup off. He not only swatted the ball, he pinned the ball on the backboard, came down with it, and then he ended up beating me 11-10. However, just for the record, I almost beat him. But so okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes here. So you transferred to Christian Pacifica. Let's start your journey there. So you're playing varsity ball. How was your first year there? How did you develop? How did Coach Jeff really start to mold you and shape you to get you ready for Division I basketball?
Right. So my first year was my sophomore year. And like you said, I had to sit out that whole year. So I didn't play a single CIF game that year. And it actually worked out for the better because I was able to just train and work on my body, work on my game skill-wise. And it worked out especially because I had broken my knee the summer right before my freshman year. And so the process of the healing was still going through in the middle of my freshman year. And so it wasn't fully back to 100%. And so that year I was able to get my knee 100%, then get stronger, get better skill rise. And then that year, coach just really taught me, work ethic, and also how to be a really good teammate, not being able to play. How am I going to help my teammates? How am I going to lead the team from not on the court? And I feel like that's a huge thing that I learned. I've always been solid in being able to support my teammates on the court, off the court, on the bench. I've played in a lot of different roles throughout my high school career.
Right.
But that year definitely taught me the most because I can't get on the court at all,
Right.
And so just to see everything from like a coach's perspective, but also be a player, allowed me to help my teammates in seeing different things, seeing different perspectives, and help leading them from the bench. And I think that's one thing I wouldn't take back. If I that year really helped me grow, even though I didn't play. And so, yeah, that was a really important year for me.
And then, getting into the junior year, now you're really trying to prepare for obviously what it's really going to look like to be a Division I athlete. And on top of that, you have some pretty lofty goals, right? You're not settling for being just a Division I basketball player. You're working hard on getting into the NBA. And so that journey obviously starts in high school. So walk us through that a little bit.
So yeah, it's in high school. That's when it actually starts, like you said, in high school. How you start there, how your work ethic there is going to transfer into college, and also going to transfer into the NBA. And so for me, it's been a process of you may not have access to a gym, but still finding ways to always get better. You can make all the excuses in the world, but at the end of the day, someone's out there working, and they're not going to be making excuses. And so whether that's doing dribbling drills in your driveway, whether that's doing footwork, the ladder drills, things like that to work on your game. For me, a lot of times we would have 6 a.m. practices at Pacifica. And so what I would do is I would have, my school was like 0.8 miles from the beach and then like 2 miles from the pier. And so what I'd do is I'd have my, whoever was driving me drop me off at the pier and then drop myself off at school. And then I would run a mile in the sand and then I'd run a mile on land up to the school before I got to practice. And then we would have practice. And so it's just like the little things that give you that edge, and even though it's really hard because now my legs are dead and then I got a 6 a.m. practice with all these college coaches there and you still got to perform. It just pushes you to be better, pushes you to be the best you can be. And not only was I trying to be the best on my team and lead my players and show them, I'm willing to put work into this, follow me in that, but also create my habits for now, trying to get as much work in as I can, whether it's, not having access to a gym, but running to a park, getting shots at, making sure all those things. And so now I do have that access to gyms and things. And so that work ethic is already there. It's already installed in me to go in early, get shots before practice, stay after, get shots. After games, may not play a lot, so you get a workout in, things like that.
And then, one thing that I really, and I will always really appreciate about you, one thing that really distinguished you amongst a lot of guys. So when just for people to hear, so when Judah joined in for practices and stuff for a while, we had two really deep elite teams. We had about 22 guys, 24 guys that were on our top 2 teams. And it was rival. We had guys that were 7 feet. Our starting group was 7 foot, 6'9", 6'7", 6'5", and 6'4". And for both sides, basically, for both of those teams, we had a lot of monsters, a lot of really good, talented players. We had a lot of guys that are now playing college, just as Judah is. We just had a really great large stacked group of players. And Judah stood out amongst all of them in every way possible. Every time we told the guys to come in to talk, Judah sprinted over and was the first one in the group huddle. When a drill was over, Judah would find whatever basketballs were on the court. He would run and grab either the game ball that we were using for our 5-on-5 drills and bring it to one of the coaches, or he would pick up, if there were 2 or 3 balls on his side of court from whatever shooting drills we were doing, he'd pick up all the balls and put them over the bench before he'd go get water. Water breaks for 45 seconds. The second I broke them up, I started the timer. They had 45 seconds to get the water, get back on the court. Judah would still take the time to do the small detailed things. And that's one thing that made him stand out amongst everybody else. And again, just for context, if you're a high school varsity athlete, you have less than a 1.6% chance of playing college basketball. That's something that needs to be understood. There's very few kids that are going to play from high school, they're going to play at college, and that's from the JC level to the D1 level. The class that Judah played with and the group that Judah played with, out of those 20 guys that basically stayed with the program and went through it, of those 20 guys, all of them are playing college basketball now. The younger ones that are a year below him are now being recruited and will play themselves. So he played, this is a man that played with a bunch of guys that are all going to play college, and he still stood out amongst all of them. And again, he's the only one that went Division I. Everybody else went JC, they went NAIA, or they went Division II. He's the only one out of all those guys that went Division I. And we had some very remarkable high-level players that came through the ranks and were with that group. So just to understand, when he's talking about doing these little things, they matter. And it's building these habits. He's building these trends that is going to continue to help him stick out. So now you're going into your junior summer and your senior summer, and you played with West Coast Elite's Under Armour team. You played with Oakland Rebels and their EYBL program, correct?
Yeah, the Soldiers.
You played with their EYBL team?
Correct.
And who else did you play with that were sponsored programs?
Dream Vision. I played with Dream Vision for a long time. And then those were the main ones. I played with the Truth for a little bit. Yeah.
The Truth, that's Chris Paul's program.
Correct. No, Paul Pierce.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paul Pierce. And they're Adidas?
Nike.
They are EYBL? Okay.
Yeah.
And so what were the things that what were the reasons? And, again, high-level players such as Judah typically play with a few different programs because they're trying to play that top-level competition all the time and with top-level competition all the time. So what were the reasons that you played with so many different programs?
That's personally, I personally didn't really enjoy AAU because a lot of it is political. And that's one of the reasons I did switch up a little bit. A lot of it's political.
Explain that, though.
Who you know, say it again?
Explain that statement, because people don't understand when you say a lot of it's political, what does that mean?
It's all about who you know, and if you have a name, if you're big on Instagram, if a lot of people know you, things like that. And so there are players who just because they have connections to like the coaches or the head of the programs, things like that, they'll play more. Or because they have a name, they'll be like, if I don't play, then I'm gonna leave. And so just things going on behind closed doors, stuff like that. And so you could have a big name and not be playing well. And that's kind of one of the things that happened with the Soldiers. We had a lot of big name players, but some players were playing better at the moment, and these big name players didn't like that. They weren't getting the ball as much, things like that. And so they left because they felt like they should get more attention. They should, it should be more centered around them, things like that. And that, like I said, that's how it is with most AAU. I think the Soldiers were the best, I would say, because they're really about winning, So whether it's, you can be someone who is one of the top high school players, but if someone's balling out, if they're coming through, if they are killing right now, then we're going to roll with that, We're just trying to win, and that's the thing. That's one thing that, that's the type of team I like to play for. I feel like that's how all players should be, whether you're big name, whether you're not, it's about winning. And so I could be, let's say I'm top player in the nation, but my teammates going off. Yeah, I'm gonna kick him the ball. I'm trying to win here. You know what I mean? But a lot of teams aren't like that. A lot of players aren't like that. It's very self-centered. A lot of time it's just one-on-ones. You come down to one-on-one. Go back the other way to one-on-one. Go back the other. You know what I mean? It's not playing basketball. It's not basketball. Right. So that was a lot of my problems with AAU.
Well, it is funny that you bring that up because that is very true. And, I've seen that. I've had players that have come to my program and have left for the same reason you're talking about, because your name. The problem is that also with AAU is so many coaches in AAU, their players are what make them, that is what gives them a name. It's not the way around. And for what I do in my organization, we develop players. We take you where you're at. We make you better. So I've lost players because we don't, like you said, if you're not playing good, you're not going to play. We're going to put somebody else in because we're going to win.
Right.
And my players don't make me a better coach. I make my players better. And if you want to be better, you're going to play for me. If you don't want to be better, that's fine. You don't have to play for me. I'm going to take the guys that want to win, that want to get better, that want to make it to the next level, and I'm going to get them there. And that's one thing that, again, I enjoy about having kids like yourself who've come through and played, because your whole focus was always just to get better. You didn't care who was on the court, who was there watching, what was going on. You just want to get better, and you are coachable. And that's another big thing that distinguishes you and kids like you, as opposed to most of the kids that are never going to make it. You got to be coachable. Mm-hmm. You got to be willing to be critiqued. You got to be willing to have someone breathing down your neck and telling you what you're doing wrong and what you need to do. You need to be willing to be a team player. That's how you're going to get to the next level. A lot of the kids that, the guys that you're talking about, those guys' futures are going to be small. They're not going to make it as far as you do. And yeah, they might play Division I for a while, but they're going to be the kids that go from a Division I school to another school, eventually drop down to an NAI school or a JC because they're not getting what they want. They're just going to fade through the ranks. It's the kids that are coachable. They're going to constantly work hard. They're going to continue to do what they need to do to progress. Those are the ones that are going to make it to the next level after this. And
right.
I've seen it. I've been around the game for so long. I've seen it all. I've coached it, been a part of it. And so let's get into, St. Mary's contacts you your junior summer.
Something like that. They came into a practice.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you start talking to St. Mary's. You get in your senior year. You committed your senior year to St. Mary's.
I committed my junior year.
Okay, you committed your junior year. So then they started watching you your sophomore summer.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
So they actually came and watched. I didn't know they were at that game, but they watched probably one of my worst AAU games. It was funny. But we won, so it was good. But like I was in foul trouble and it was bad. But like I kind of helped come get us back into the game, and we ended up winning. And then Coach Bennett came into a practice. And like I said, I didn't really know about St. Mary's. Like I didn't know about St. Mary's. And then after practice, me and Coach Bennett talked for a little bit. And And then Coach Barikoff came to me. He was like, Coach Bennett doesn't, always go out on recruiting trips, Usually it's like the assistant coaches, he doesn't usually go himself, and he said, I'm not going to tell you to take any official visits, but this one you have to do. Like this one you need to go, you need to do this one.
And how many schools have been talking to you at this point already?
At this point, I probably had like 16 offers, and then a lot of other schools just talking to me. And so I was like, okay, around like 16. And so I told them I'd take this official visit. And then so we end up scheduling, I forget when I went on my official.
That's okay.
I committed in January, like January 8th or something like that.
Okay.
And so I went probably like early before Christmas.
Okay.
Before Christmas. And so I go on the official visit, and like before I go, me and my parents like sit down and make a list of like what I'm looking for.
Okay.
And so when we got here, it was pretty straightforward that, this is a place to be. I took one other official visit after this, just to see how it compared.
Yeah.
But we were pretty set after the first official.
What was the biggest name school that offered you?
The biggest name at the time, Nevada. They were in the third in the nation when they offered me.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I had a lot of offers from West Coast Conference schools. So, but yeah, so I committed not long after that, after my first.
And then 2 other questions. We'll kind of wrap this up. So what has been through your journey through high school? What has been some of the hardest things for you? Because look, again, I can't explain how hard it is to get to play college sports from high school.
Yeah.
So what were some of the hardest things you had to go through to get to where you are now?
To get to the college level, or just like hardest things going through high school?
Yeah, some of the hardest things you had to go through to get to where you are now playing college basketball.
I would say one was probably breaking my leg. Because it's not like a minor thing. You know what I mean? And it feels like you're just getting so far behind everyone else.
Right.
And I was at the point, that summer we just finished the AAU. We finished like third in the nation. We just won in Vegas. It was a great summer. I went to this camp. It was really good summer camp. So I was looking forward to that. I went to the camp. It was literally the evaluation scrimmages. And I go up for a dunk, and on the way up, my tibia breaks. And so like that was just a huge setback, and it breaks your spirit a little bit.
Right.
Because you feel like you're so far behind. And so that one was probably a big one. And then having to sit out another year, and so you're right there and you're like, in 2 years, I've only played half a season.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, like I said, it just feels like you're so far behind everyone else. But you just having to stick with it, keep working, keep pushing yourself, to be the best you can be.
Right.
And it all worked out.
And then kind of round up everything, what have been some of the biggest transition things you've had to get used to going from playing high school to now playing college?
I think one thing I knew, but you don't really understand until you're here, is that everyone's good. Like everyone's actually really good. You know what I mean? Like you're at D1, it's not going to be where, 1 or 2 people are, like high school, you'll get like 1 or 2 people really good. And then, you have the other team. It's like, yeah. But everyone's good. You know what I mean? And the thing I love about this team is that, one, we're all good. You know, everyone can play. Two, we all want to win. You know what I mean? And we all want to get better. And so everyone's putting in extra time. Everyone's putting in extra work, you know, before, after practices, before, after games. And that's the environment you want to be in, because you become like the people you hang out around, you know?
Exactly.
And so if you're hanging out, if you have a team, you know, a couple people, you know, want to get better, and a couple people are just like, you know, I'm just here for the fun of it. You know, I've actually ran into players, you know, in other sports who, you know, we're just in conversations. We're like, you know, I'm just here, you know, get free gear, you know, just have fun, you know. And I'm like, it's so different, you know, and I'm blessed to be on a team where all like 13 guys we all want to get better.
It's good.
We all want to win. We all want to. And so it's one goal. We're 13 guys with one goal, you know, and you don't see that often. And a lot of credit to the coaching staff, you know, for the people he recruits, you know, the way he coaches us. Yeah, we just all try to get better, and that pushes each other, because you see someone else getting extra work. You're like, okay, I'm gonna go get in, and then soon the whole team is in there after practice. An hour later, you know, and we're still all in the gym, and the coaching staff still have to be there because we're like, hey, can you rebound for us? You know, can you put me through some drills? And so in that, it's nice because instead of like one player being here and other players being here, right, you're all getting better. You're all pushing each other to get better. Yeah.
All right, really quickly. So you're in the same conference as my Bulldogs, Gonzaga, baby. Now, I will root for you personally, but I'm not rooting for your team when you play Gonzaga.
I got that a lot.
Because Gonzaga is my squad, man. I'm from Washington State. Gonzaga.
Okay.
Right there. Well, obviously, got my Seahawks shirt on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did have one more question. I totally forgot. So this is my last question. You're playing now college basketball. Your first year, you're a freshman, you're getting minutes, and you're playing in empty stadiums.
Mm-hmm.
What's that like? Because there's no real home court advantage anymore.
Right. It's how do I explain? It's kind of like when you're, as a player, you know, when the ball goes up, you kind of zone out. You're in the zone. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so with fans, like you hear them, but sometimes you don't really hear them. You know what I mean? Right. So like they're there, they're not really there. I don't mean at all to say they don't have an effect on the game, because they do, like a big one. They have a big effect. They can, the momentum of the game can switch you know, it's
100%.
It's huge. Right. But as a player, I don't like, as you're playing, it's not really like, you're not really thinking, it doesn't really click in your head that like, there's no one here. You know what I mean? And also as a freshman, I have nothing to compare it to at this level. You know,
right now it's interesting hearing this, because I want to talk to you next year when there are fans.
Yeah.
And you're at a few games, and I want to hear the difference, because I played college basketball for a couple of years, and I would say that I agree with you that yes, when you're like when you're doing certain things, like, yeah, you do kind of like have that tunnel vision, you do kind of zone out.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times, and I'll say that, you know, having fans is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the vaccine area is like, you know, chanting and shouting and screaming and rooting for, you know, it does make a difference. And
yeah,
I do miss those moments. Those were a lot of fun stuff that transpired those few years. But
because like their energy gives you energy and things like that. But yeah, it's funny you said that.
It's just fun being in that environment, you know. It's just
exactly.
indescribable. But yeah, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for being with me today and talking. I really appreciate it, and it was great getting to obviously see your face and talk to you a little bit and get to hear about your journey so far. I'll be looking forward to. I'm sure you'll be home again in the summertime, so it'll be fun seeing you around. And your brothers are playing basketball now, I take it?
Yes. Yeah.
They played for me for like 6 months.
They did. Yeah.
Playing for a while. And I saw them at a park right around the early shutdowns for COVID.
Okay.
They were just shooting around with one of your older brothers, but I asked them if they were playing. They weren't really playing with anybody. So I was like, okay, I mean, maybe they don't want to play. Are they going to play at Pacifica too?
Yeah. Josh is playing. I don't know what Joseph's going to do this year. I don't know what he's going to do this year. But Josh is playing at Pacifica. Yeah.
Good. Well, good, my man. Well, listen, thank you so much. And for all of the listeners, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Stephen Basita. You're on my podcast, Get It, with my guest, Judah Brown. And I look forward to talking to you again. We'll look forward to seeing you guys again real soon.
Thank you.